While Labor struggles to recover from the trauma of Kevin Rudd's shock removal and establish Julia Gillard as an election-winning prospect, the party's longest-serving Prime Minister, Bob Hawke, is enjoying a renewed burst of attention, with a biography launched today and a television dramatisation of his life coming up. The fact that the biography has been written by his wife, accomplished writer Blanche suggests it's not exactly a hostile critique. But there are some awkward revelations and flaws on display, although not as many flaws as the man who eventually brought him down, Paul Keating. Dalpuget's first controversial volume on Bob Hawke was written before he became Prime Minister. This one takes in his years at the top and includes for the first time interviews with a number of senior advisers and public servants who worked intimately with him. Earlier this year we ran a two-part interview with Malcolm Fraser based on his memoir. Tonight we have the first of a two-part interview with Bob Hawke and Blanche Dalpuget, recorded by Kerry O'Brien late last week before he went on leave.
Blanche Dalpuget, Bob Hawke, thanks for joining us. Blanche, a lot has been written about this phase of Bob Hawke's life. Quite a lot of it authoritative. Now, what did you hope to add to the historic record? Because this isn't just a personal reflection, is it? You deal with the history of his time as Prime Minister.
What I really hoped to address was the question of leadership, which was something that political leadership, that is, which was something that I thought had not been covered from my reading of both the books that have been published and the press and the general commentary and the whole concept of political leadership. So that's what I go to in the book, and I think it's a pretty important topic.
But in setting out to write part two of the Hawke biography, what rules did you set for yourself? Because A, presumably you would want this to be seen as an accurate, if not totally objective, account about a former Prime Minister and one of Australia's best-known public figures, and B, you're married to him. So what were the ground rules that you set for yourself?
Well, the ground rules were that obviously I knew him very well. I knew his strengths and also his faults very well, and I had a responsibility to the reading public to tell the truth as I saw it and understood it. But the other thing was I thought I could bring, and I think have brought in the book, a whole lot of fresh material, because I went to people who've never been interviewed before. And they've never been interviewed before because they couldn't be. They were under a vow of silence because they're either public servants or members of the Prime Minister's staff, and so wouldn't speak about him. So I think that's where I came from. I thought there's a lot to be told here and I can have access to it.
So, strengths and weaknesses, and we'll come to some of those in detail perhaps later. Mm-hmm. But very briefly, in a nutshell, core strengths, core weaknesses from your knowledge of him.
Core strengths, he is a born political leader, and they're very strange animals. You don't get many of them in a century, genuine political leaders.